There is a Google app on your Android phone right now that is almost certainly consuming significantly more storage than you realize, and that has been doing so quietly and continuously since the moment you first opened it, accumulating files and locations that the normal storage breakdown in your settings does not clearly attribute to it, storing data that you have never consciously created or chosen to keep, and doing all of this in the background with a thoroughness and a persistence that reflects the fact that this app is not primarily designed to serve your storage interests, but to serve Google's interest in having as much of your data as possible available on your device for as many of its services as possible. The app is Google Photos. And before you say that you already know about Google Photos and you already manage your photo library carefully, what this video is going to show you goes considerably beyond the obvious question of how many photos and videos you have stored on your device. It goes into the specific ways that Google Photos stores data that has nothing to do with your photo library, the specific caches and indexes and offline data and backed up metadata that accumulate over months and years of using the app, the specific settings that cause the app to download and store content you never asked for, and the specific steps to find all of it, understand all of it, and eliminate all of it. So the Google Photos is taking up only the space that you have consciously chosen to give it, rather than the space it has quietly claimed for its own operational purposes over the entire period you have been using it. Start with the most basic layer of Google Photos storage that most people understand incompletely, even when they think they understand it well. Google Photos on Android stores two distinct categories of photo and video content locally on your device. The first category is original photos and videos that you took with your device's camera and that exist on your device as the primary copy, before any backup to Google's servers has occurred. The second category is cached versions of photos and videos that were taken on other devices, downloaded from your Google Photos library, or synced to your device as part of the way Google Photos displays your complete photo library across all your devices. Most people understand that their own photos take up storage. Far fewer people understand that Google Photos also downloads and caches content from their cloud library to make it available for display in the app, and that this cached content can represent a significant amount of storage that is being consumed by content you did not take on your current device and would not necessarily expect to find stored locally on it. When you scroll through your Google Photos library on your Android phone and the photos load quickly and smoothly, it is because Google Photos has cached a significant portion of that library locally, and the size of that cache depends on how large your total photo library is, how extensively you use the app, and what your settings tell it about how aggressively to cache content for offline access. To see the full picture of what Google Photos is consuming on your device, go to your Android settings app, navigate to Apps, find Google Photos in the list of apps, and tap on Storage and Cache. What you will see is a breakdown showing the amount of storage used by the app itself, the amount of storage used by data that the app has saved, and the amount of storage used by the cache. On devices where Google Photos has been in active use for more than 6 months, the cache figure alone is frequently surprising. Users who have large photo libraries and who use Google Photos regularly have reported cache sizes of 2, 3, 4, and in some cases more than 5 gigabytes of cached data that the app has stored without any explicit instruction from the user to store it. The data figure, which represents files the app has saved more permanently than the cache, can also be substantial and contains the backup queue data, the search index that Google Photos builds locally to enable the app's powerful search and face recognition. Features: the thumbnail database for your local photo library and various other operational files that the app considers more persistent than cache content. Understanding the distinction between these categories matters because the appropriate response to each is different. Cache data can be cleared safely and immediately with no loss of any content you care about because it will be regenerated from the source as needed. Data requires more careful consideration because some of it, specifically the backup queue for photos that have not yet been confirmed as backed up to Google's servers, should not be deleted until you have confirmed that your backup is current and complete. Before you delete anything in Google Photos, you must complete a critical check that many people skip, and that has resulted in permanent photo loss for users who deleted what they thought was redundant local content without verifying the backup status of that content. Open the Google Photos app, tap your profile picture in the top right corner, and tap on Photos Settings, then Backup. What you see on this screen tells you the current state of your Google Photos backup, and it is essential information before you take any action on your local storage. If the screen shows that backup is on and everything is backed up, you are in a safe position to proceed with cleaning up local storage because your photos exist in Google's cloud and will be accessible even after local copies are removed. If the screen shows that backup is on, but there is a number of photos or videos waiting to back up, you must wait for that backup to complete before doing anything that could affect local photo storage. If the screen shows that backup is off, you need to understand that any local photos that are not backed up through another service exist only on your device, and deleting them will result in permanent loss. If the screen shows that your Google account storage's full backup has likely been paused because there is nowhere in your cloud storage to put new backups, and in this situation, photos taken since your storage filled up may not be backed up at all, even if the app appeared to be functioning normally from your perspective. The backup status screen also shows you something that many users find surprising when they look at it carefully for the first time, which is how much of their Google account storage the Google Photos library is consuming. Google account storage is shared between Google Photos, Google Drive, and Gmail. And for the majority of users, the dominant consumer of that shared storage is Google Photos. Free Google accounts come with 15 gigabytes of shared storage across all three services. And for anyone who has been taking photos with their phone for more than a year or two on a modern smartphone with a high-resolution camera, this storage limit is reached fairly quickly, particularly because videos consume storage at rates that make a single 10-minute 4K video larger than many people's entire photo library from a decade ago. When your Google account storage fills up, Google Photos stops backing up new content silently without any prominent notification that would make you aware this has happened. And you may continue taking photos for weeks or months believing they are safely backed up when in fact they exist only locally on your device. Checking the screen regularly is one of the most important habits for anyone who relies on Google Photos as their primary photo backup solution. Once you have confirmed that your backup is current and complete, you can proceed with clearing Google Photos cache, which is the safest and most immediately impactful step for recovering storage. Go back to the storage breakdown in your phone's Settings app, tap the Google Photos entry, tap Storage and Cache, and tap Clear Cache. This removes all the cached data that Google Photos has accumulated, including the cached versions of photos downloaded from your cloud library, the cached search results, the cached thumbnails that the app uses to display your library quickly, and various other temporary files. After clearing the cache, Google Photos will need to regenerate this data as you use the app, which means the first time you open it after clearing the cache, it will be slightly slower to display your library than it was before because it needs to rebuild. The display cache. This is a temporary and minor inconvenience that is the direct cost of recovering potentially several gigabytes of storage that the cache was consuming. The cache will begin to grow again after you clear it because the same processes that created it in the first place continue to operate, which means that clearing the Google Photos cache is not a one-time fix, but a maintenance task that benefits from being repeated every few months. The next layer to address is the local storage that Google Photos consumes through photos and videos that are stored on your device beyond what you have consciously chosen to keep locally. If you have Google Photos backup turned on and confirmed as current, the original high-resolution copies of your backed up photos and videos can be removed from your local device storage because they exist safely in the cloud and can be downloaded again whenever you need them. Google Photos provides a dedicated function for this called Free Up Space, or Free Up Device Storage, which you can find by tapping your profile picture in the Google Photos app, tapping Manage Storage, and then looking for the option to free up space on your device. This function identifies photos and videos that have been confirmed as backed up to Google's servers and offers to delete the local copies, recovering that. Storage for other uses, while keeping the content accessible through the Google Photos app when you have an internet connection. On devices where photos and videos have been accumulating for years without this function being used, the storage recovery from running Free Up Space can be substantial, frequently ranging from 5 to 20 gigabytes, depending on how many photos and videos the device holds and what resolution the camera captures them at. The Memories feature in Google Photos is another source of storage consumption that users rarely think about when they are looking for storage to recover. Google Photos. Memories downloads content from your cloud library to your device to create the animated compilations, themed collections, and anniversary reminders that appear at the top of the Google Photos app. This content is downloaded and stored on your device even if it consists of photos that were taken on other devices and backed up from those devices rather than from your current phone, meaning that Google Photos is using your current device's storage to cache content that originated elsewhere, specifically to power a feature that you may never actively use, or may use only occasionally. To reduce the storage impact of Memories without entirely disabling the feature, you can go to Google Photos settings, tap Memories, and disable specific categories of Memories content that you do not care about, which reduces the amount of content that the app downloads and stores locally to populate the Memories feed. The face recognition feature in Google Photos, which allows the app to group your photos by the people who appear in them and to recognize faces across your entire photo library, requires a substantial local index that Google Photos builds and maintains on your device. This index stores facial recognition data derived from every face and every photo in your library, and it is used to power the people View in Google Photos and the related feature suggestions that the app makes based on who appears in your photos. The index is not small. For users with large photo libraries containing many photos of people, the face recognition index can consume several hundred megabytes to more than a gigabyte of local storage. If you do not actively use the people feature in Google Photos and do not rely on face recognition to organize or find your photos, you can disable this feature by going to Google Photos Settings, then Group Similar Faces, and turning the feature off. Disabling face recognition will reduce the local storage consumed by the face recognition index and will stop the ongoing background processing that Google Photos performs to maintain and update that index, which also has a modest positive effect on battery life because face recognition processing consumes processor time whenever new photos are added to your library. The Google Photos widget, if you have it placed on your home screen, is another source of storage consumption that is easy to overlook because widgets feel like display elements rather than storage consumers. The Google Photos widget downloads and stores content from your photo library locally to display in the widget, and depending on the widget's configuration and size, this content can accumulate to a meaningful amount of storage over time. If you have the Google Photos widget on your home screen and you are trying to minimize the app's storage footprint, removing the widget is a simple step that eliminates this source of storage consumption without affecting the app's core functionality. The Shared Albums feature in Google Photos is one that many users have participated in without fully understanding the storage implications. When someone shares an album with you through Google Photos and you save photos from that album to your own library, those photos count against your Google account storage, just as photos you took yourself do. And on your device, the Google Photos app may cache those shared album photos locally as part of its general content caching behavior, meaning that other people's photos that you saved to a shared album are consuming both your cloud storage and your device's local storage. Reviewing your Google Photos library for saved content from shared albums and removing items that you do not need to keep permanently is a useful step both for your cloud storage usage and for reducing the local content that the app caches to display that content. The Google Lens integration within Google Photos is a feature that many users have triggered without realizing it, and that can leave cached analysis data on the device. When you use Google Lens to analyze a photo, whether by explicitly tapping the Lens button or by the app automatically suggesting lens analysis for certain types of content, the analysis results and associated data are cached locally. This cache is included in the general Google Photos cache that you clear through the Settings app storage breakdown, so it does not require separate action. But it is worth knowing about as one of the contributors to the cache growth that makes periodic cache clearing beneficial. Addressing the full scope of what Google Photos is doing to your storage requires combining several of the steps described in this video, rather than treating any one of them as a complete solution. Confirm your backup status before doing anything else, because the backup status determines what is safe to do with your local content. Clear the cache regularly to remove the accumulated temporary files that the app generates as a byproduct of its normal operation. Use free up space after confirming backup is complete to remove local copies of backed up content that does not need to exist locally when it is safely preserved in the cloud. Evaluate the memories and face recognition features and disable them if you do not actively use them to reduce ongoing storage consumption and background processing. Review your shared album content and remove saved photos that you do not need to keep. Remove the Google Photos widget from your home screen if minimizing storage impact is a priority. And set a recurring reminder to repeat the cache clearing step every 2 to 3 months because the cache will rebuild itself through normal use. And periodic clearing is the most sustainable way to prevent it from growing back to the sizes that prompted this audit in the first place. Google Photos is a genuinely excellent app for the specific things it does well, which include backing up your photo library reliably, making your entire photo history searchable through powerful AI-based search, and organizing your memories in ways that are genuinely useful and genuinely pleasing. None of what this video describes changes the fact that the app is good at those things. What this video is about is the gap between what Google Photos does for you and what it does to your storage, and the reality that an app can be excellent at its core function while also consuming significantly more of your device's storage than you would choose to give it if you understood clearly what it was, storing and why. Now you understand. The storage is there, the steps to recover it are specific and actionable. Check it today because the longer you wait, the more the app accumulates and the more storage you're not getting back.